this camera right? Yeah. Okay. Hello everybody and welcome to the LPL Playoff Preview Show for the Spring Split. We're at Nice Cafe, but let's get started. I'm just gonna come out immediately. My name is Raz, LPL English caster. Here with my man Clement, also LPL English caster, analyst, translator. The guy does a lot, too much at sometimes. I'm with Teddy as well. He has literally just been with me on one of our talk shows here. So that's nice. I've worked with him in the past, but I've never worked with Tabe. Coming fresh out of Brazil, you already know about him. He's a former pro player. He's been a Worlds finalist. First of all, I just want to hear from you. Introduce yourself. How's it been?
Hi guys, everyone knows me. I'm recently being a coach from Brazil. I'm coaching in Team Kaboom. I'm like having a rest a little bit because I was working with Hero there, and it was my first time to work with another coach. Head coach. Yeah. I was head coach like all the time, like 2 to 3 years, but now I'm kind of assistant coach of him, and I've learned a lot from him, and I find that it's enough for me, and I want to change something and learn something new, so that's why I come back to Shanghai. Welcome back.
It's nice to have you on the show. Of course, this one's going to be for just like the LPL regular season as a whole. It's been a long one. Yep. It's been the most, for me, I'm going to come out and say it feels like it's been the most competitive LPL split thus far. Because I've been watching in Europe, everyone's been looking towards G2 as just like slamming people. Same's been happening in North America with Team Liquid. Like Griffin and LCK at times, it seems like it's not the case when they lost a little bit, but they came back on top. And then I look at the LPL and I'm like, you know what? IG easily, right? And then they get beaten down. It's like a TOP, FPX. So I'm going to come out and ask you guys a question. I'll start with Clement. Right beside me. Okay. Who do you think right now is on top? Who is the strongest team right now in the LPL just based off the regular season play?
Right, you have to say for the team to beat, it still has to go to FPX for me. Okay. I think they were the most consistent team overall. Yeah. They had the best record. They locked their first seed in week 10 before anyone else. So I think they're the team to beat. And of course, you have to look at the world champions like Invictus Gaming. They have a strong resume. But if you want to talk about the entire split and the level of play, I think FPX has to be your go-to.
All right, anyone else? I'll start with you.
That's too much pressure for me.
Why is it too much pressure?
Because I cast LPL every day. So before the playoff, who is the best team for me?
Who is right now the strongest team?
I think it's IG. Yeah, they really got something back at the end of the season, and I think patch 9.6 is more fit for them. And just like we got a lot of champion back on the pitch, so like Talia, and Rookie is a really good Talia player, and the Shy is in a really good shape at the end of the season. So, and they got more experience than FanPlus, so I will give my vote to IG.
Okay, Tabe.
I think it's a really hard question because I think like IG, FPX, RNG, DG are always the boss. I think I will have the same idea with Clement because I think FPX is really something new to LPL, but the whole roster is new. And I really like the aggressive play of Tien. And everyone knows that Doinbi is really good commander. And like every time when you, for example, when you draft, if you pick jungle first, an enemy can like counter pick jungle, but all the time when Tien picks some early jungle, and with the commander ability of Doinbi, they synergize really well and create the most aggressive plays among the whole LPL. And I think even like teams like IG or RNG, they can win FPX in early game. In 9.6 and 9.5, 9.4, these patches are all about early game. The dragons are so important after the lane swapping to the Herald. So among all these criteria, I think that FPX is the best team.
There we go.
So I gotta break this up, right? Immediately I'm gonna break it up because like one of my biggest questions when it came to FPX was like, are they too linear of a team? Because when they went up against they've had their toughest competition around like week 7, 8, around those marks, when they were going up against like RNG, IG, and they were really getting pushed to like these 3-game series. Yep. And I was really left unsatisfied with the IG series because that's when they pulled the Shy out in game 3. Yep. But a lot of the same hits for these teams were going to the mid lane, challenge 2v2, and FPX were kind of struggling if they couldn't get Doinbi like having the shove in mid lane and roaming across the map. Is that ever going to be a concern for you? Like I'll start with you, but like for you two, because you guys seem to be the FPX like.
Hey, you asked me who was looking the best. Who's the team to beat? I said there was FPX, yeah, but if you're talking about specific matchup-wise, I totally agree with you. I think the problem is that Tien and Doinbi, they work as like a duo. They're very good They have a really strong bond, and a lot of times if Doinby can't get the lane pushing, Tien will actually just show up and shove the lane for him, so they can get moving that way. But what we've seen FPX have troubles is against guys like Karsa, is against guys like Ning, who can break that duo up and make it a solo game between Tien and the aggressive jungler of either Karsa or Ning. And I just want to throw a couple of stats out of how good Tien has actually been this split. FPX have the #1 rate in first bloods, 71%. And out of those 28 first bloods, Tien has participated in 27 of them.
Okay.
So he has an insane sense of what the trades are happening in lane. And a lot of times I feel like even if they can't get the mid jungle going, if there's something happening in the side lanes, if Tien finds that first, he's still be able to snowball. He's probably one of the best snowballers for these lanes. And I think overall, if you look at the total amount of games they played, my vote still goes to FPX.
All right, okay, FPX. But I'm hearing a lot of names, and for me, you're saying like Tien's been exceptional as a talent, like coming back in form ever since like coming from Suning to FPX has been coming in strong. Doinby a commander, I'm hearing. So if we're just talking about individual talent that's pushing a lot of these teams up to the forefront, making it seem like you already said like matchup dependent. It feels like when you get into the playoffs, we have awards, right? Like LPL comes out with awards. If I'm ever like putting my dime on it, usually they come out in quarterfinals when they come out with like MVPs and all that. So who do you guys feel is the MVP of this split coming out of it? Because like we have a lot of great names so far. Start with you because you gave me the great reaction. Right?
That's a really important question about who is the most valuable player.
Yes.
And if only one guy that I can pick.
Because there are a lot of criteria.
Yeah, there's a lot of players that
from like commanding, like literally just taking leadership roles, or like
gameplay.
Exactly.
Yeah, mechanic. Like the time that he got MVP. Yeah.
Yes.
So many players are included in this selection. So I will give my vote to. Gosh, this is hard.
And just so people know, like right now, even the MVP votes are fairly split. Like Knight was leading, but it was like Tien, Doinby coming up in as well. So like a lot of these younger players, specifically Tien and Knight, having this many MVPs just off of individual games and performances already like leads people to believe one thing.
But to me, MVP is something more than the data.
Yeah.
More than how many times you got MVP. So I will give my vote to Mystic.
Ooh, that's a good
because
one.
Mystic is, I think he is the only guy that carry his whole team to the playoff. Mystic played really stable this season and really good this season, and Team W caught him so many times this season, and that's more than somebody else because other guys got a really good team and they got really good team play. But if you watch W this season, even at the early of this season, they even don't know how to play this game anymore. And they are struggle with their substitute jungler, like Magic. Like they actually put Beishan on at the mid of the season, but during this whole time, Mystic was doing his best to try to carry this WE, and he is really good at bottom lane this year, and he's really stable. And I think he is the biggest reason that why W is in the playoff after the loss of last season.
You have a lot of green players too. Remember Post coming in.
Yep.
You already mentioned Beishan coming in mid-split as a rookie as well.
Yep.
So like having that many rookies, and sure you're gonna have Xie, but literally just Xie for a team to like count themselves in the playoffs.
But Mystic is more carry than other AD carries for the whole time.
Yeah.
Because he needs to be more carry to carry the whole WE to playoff. Yeah. So I will give my vote to Mystic. And I really like this guy.
Yeah.
He is handsome.
He's got it out there. If Mystic is watching that, then he's gonna take that compliment well.
This guy is already married.
All right, you can take that compliment no matter what happened, either relationship or not, right? Tabe, who do you have as your MVP for this split?
For me, I have struggled a lot, same with Teddy, because I have like listed a lot of guys here, and I like Knight because like every day I watch the thoughts of the good players in Korea solo queue. I like Jack Love because of I'm a really good friend with him. Like behind the scenes, we always go out to hang out, and he played really well this split.
Yes.
And also Tien, just now I said he was like the most aggressive jungler I've ever seen. But overall, I think of Teddy's answer about Mystic, about carry the whole team to a new level, right? So I think my answer will give to Doinby. Why? Is because this guy is crazy. He brings a lot of fun to the whole LPL scenario. He always like, how do I say, hooray, hooray.
Really emotional.
Yeah, really emotional.
Yep.
And the most important thing is like, he has been a really poor performance in JDG like 2 years ago or one here. But after in RW and now, like he's like the Jesus Christ, he's like the god of the team. Like any team gets WB is like already secure the finals or what. And now he was working with Tian, and I was thinking a problem is, like I was saying, Tian is really aggressive, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, is it WB asking him to do this? For example, I can imagine that WB speaking in Chinese. And said,
I can answer this question because I watch a lot of WB stream and he's do really. He played with Tian a lot during his stream, and all the time he was telling Tian information about the other side's jungler. He was telling Tian that I can push the lane, so get into his red, and I can come with you. And this guy lost his flash last time, so we can catch him right now. He was doing this all the time, and he was telling information to Tian all the time. I think that's what a good mid laner should to do, and I think that answers Hubby's question. WB caught a lot of play.
Even like piggybacking off of that, off the streams, like I don't like whenever it comes to like watching a team play in their environment. Usually, it's the support that comes up. Timing supports, like of course, across the team. But like you see that in solo queue, like literally WB doing that almost like every game. So like being able to time supports and like count it. So like going back to your point, like talking about like that leadership and being able to command jungles, because even though it was a mistake, like you're right, he had cleared, he had like moving on towards flawless, and he's always had very strong synergies with his junglers and being able to move with them.
Yeah, and I really like him because of he has a really good level of Chinese, so he can communicate with the whole team very well. And the last thing is, like if I am playing with WB, I will always think that I can win, because he is always thinking of how to win the game. Like when his performance in Rift Rifles, remember? When he's used his Kled to crush BDD's egg. Like everything he is doing is like telling the team like we can win. It's so much positive energy, and so that's why I vote him.
Clement, that's a lot of pressure already. These guys already take
I think these guys, my pick for MVP, probably did not win his team that many wins.
Yes.
But I think he's probably the best individual player, so I have to give it to the Shy. I feel like the Shy, for me, there's no question in my mind that if you were just putting any LPL player in a 1v1 solo situation, the Shy would be your go-to pick.
But League of Legends is not 1v1.
yes. That's true. That's true. But I also want to add, I feel like the Shy this split deserves the MVP for me, even though he was the same strength the last split, because IG as a whole, I felt like their performance in their mid lane and bot lane actually dropped a lot. Statistically, that's true, and in the record you can see they had they had to play a lot more games. The games were not as clean. And the Shy actually hard carried them through a lot of these scenarios. If you think about the game we just had, IG versus EDG, he had to pull off a miracle on Jace just to delay the timers, and it came down to one auto attack that IG beat EDG with. And I think it's just for those hero plays to really happen. And for a person like the Shy to exist, it really he's like a thought experiment turned into reality. the basic thought is, what if you have a perfect laning player? And I think the Shy is the closest you will ever get to that.
We already got two great nicknames for our players, by the way. Like Jesus Christ and a thought experiment turned into reality.
That's just like, I don't know if I say this correct, but that's just like the rooftop of the mechanic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like that's why I love the whole MVP discussion, because it doesn't matter the sport you actually like you're talking about or playing. It always comes down to the whole point about he's on a winning team. Literally, he's like with Rookie, and both of them they can call themselves the best in their craft in the world. But like, is it just about your individual talent being that excel? That's why my MVP vote would actually go to the Shy, because you could see IG monumentally change in Game 3 when they decide that Duke is going to be playing. Not because like Duke is a world champion, he's not a bad top laner, he's a great top laner, but he changes the way Rookie ends up playing the lane and how where he goes on the map. If he ends up going top lane, there are so many like incredible plays where we remember seeing like 2v2 plays happening in the top side of the map when Duke is there, and oftentimes like that communication is not necessarily happening with Rookie, but when Rookie is there in the Shy, darts straight towards top lane. It's that level of confidence. So like there's the confidence and the level of skill versus the confidence that you always have the ability to win with like Doinby, and then there's Mystic is just like carrying the team. So like I love that conversation coming of it. Here's the next conversation, just like my last talk about the regular season before we move on to the playoff itself. This one, whenever you talk to a coach or anybody knowledgeable in the scene, they hate this question. So this is why I love bringing it up.
Okay, here we go.
Most well-coached team. You may never end up talking to these coaches or knowing these coaches, but when you look at the game themselves, you always find out that they play much better than you would expect them to. Like you would say that these players have a ceiling that you would say, hey, this team should not be in the playoffs, but for whatever reason, they have these amazing set plays, or like they're working strongly, like synergistically. I was actually like having that question with myself when it came to FPX, because FPX, it looked like they were working so well together, but that doesn't necessarily mean well coached, because like, is that Doinby coming in, or is that also Warhorse? So while these questions are actually so difficult to ask, it's something worth mentioning. So like, which team in your mind, and I'm actually going to talk to the coach himself, Tabe, do you watch and say this is actually the most, this team seems like a lot of good work has come in from the behind the scenes?
I like what you said just now, like teams like FPX, you're not sure it's the leadership of Warhorse or it's just because of the Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah, there we go. That's
so,
the nickname. Everybody, we're using that now.
But to be honest, for me, I will really give my vote to Warhorse because back to 2018, me and him was in the same region. We were in LMS, and I was coaching another team, and he was coaching Flash Wolves. So Flash Wolves is always the best team, so don't need to consider them. But they had a really not that good performance in the Worlds, and they didn't make it into the quarterfinals, right? Is it quarterfinals or semifinals? Quarterfinals. They didn't make it into quarterfinals. Yeah. And he struggled a lot. I know he struggled a lot, and people are blaming him of not bringing Flash Wolf to blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But after that, I knew that he joined LPL, and a lot of teams invited him. I will have this answer because today I just watched an article saying that Warhorse said, I will only go to a team that the boss and manager will let me to run the team. Yeah. I think this is the spirit of being a good coach because, for example, if you go to a really good team, for example, if you go to IG now, it's hard to let IG, you tell the Shy to play defensive?
Yeah.
It's hard, right?
It's hard.
So I think maybe Doinby is so good, but I think how Warhorse to suggest this idea to the owner of FPX is really important, and also they are #1 now.
That's true.
Yeah, and develop some really good jungle like Tian. Yeah. And Jim Goon, he was not that shiny before in GT. But now he's one of the best top laners too. So I think he really brought his knowledge to among the whole FPX team.
Yeah. Clement, I'm going to hit you next because it's a real good point about just what a coach could give your team. So what team are you looking at in the LPL? They don't even have to be in the playoffs. They could have just bombed out, but they would have a great coach.
I just want to say that I'm really happy for Warhorse as well, just because that when he was in the LMS, people doubted his coaching. Because the matter of fact was, with that talented of a roster, they didn't even need a coach. They would still be #1. So nobody actually knew what the coaches did, but he's finally got a chance to shine here. So that's super good for him. My coach of the split would actually go to Coach Sim on BLG.
That's my answer.
That's your answer as well? All right.
Yeah, okay.
I'll go with my reasoning, see if you agree with everything. I think if you look at the BLG roster, this was a team I actually did not place very highly. They are a completely new rebuilding team. Kuro's coming over at 25 years old. This is for sure the second half of his career, or at least the ending half of his career. And then you have ADD coming over from the LCK, who was just relegated. And a lot of new pieces. Meteor is completely a rookie. They only had one starter in Jin Zhao, complete new rebuilding team. So you're like, well, I'm placing this team around 12th or 13th. But they really exceeded that expectation. Coach Sim took them very far into what I would have considered playoff territory. They had 3 Barons stolen in the last 5 sets to place them here. But they should have been a playoff team. And if they were in any other region, I think they would be a playoff team.
All right, Teddy, who do you have? You obviously have BLG, but give your reasoning too.
Yeah, I will vote to Coach Sim too, because that's the first guy that popped out in my mind after I hearing this question. There's one thing you should know, that even BLG is at 9 at the end of the season, but they got the most control word. They got most control word during the season, and they have the highest region score this season. And you can't easily do that if you don't have a good coach. And there's something more that behind the scene that I've been watched into BLG's restroom at LPL, and I was watching coach saying that grab a pen and draw every dot on the map of Rift Rebel and tell his player that you should work this, you should work here, and you should caution that they will work here. So he was really patient to tell his player every word where should they put on. And another thing is same as Clement, that when this season began, you watch the roster of the BLG, you barely know one of them. Because the only guy that I know was Kuro and Ginger and ADD, and you barely don't know who is Mini, and you barely don't know who is Meteor.
Yeah. Meteor.
Yeah.
I know that he made that mistake to come into the split. He was Tor or something, but it was definitely Meteor.
And that guy was a pro ping pong player.
Yeah.
Do you even know that?
I remember hearing that, and then I think one of our play-by-plays wouldn't stop saying.
He was even a pro ping pong player, and the reason why he came to play League of Legends is League of Legends is much fun. That's the reason he told us. So it's pretty impressive that they make barely into playoff, and just less of luck, I think, because they got Barons too all the time, and the matchup is pretty hard for them, pretty harsh for them. They need to work FunPlus, IG, EDG, RNG.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks were hilarious.
last couple of weeks were pretty hard for them. And if you mention, they always get one win from the strong team, but they lost the best of 3. And that's really unlucky, and they barely make it to playoff. And I think they will perform better in the summer. And still, I will give my vote to Coach Singh.
All right, there we go. I mean, like, I agree in that whole point. Remember, they feel like a Korean-style team in the sense that, of course, they do have
there's
Korean
one thing more that
go for it.
Because of the coach saying that BLG give you something like no matter which team they face up, they play the same play style.
Yes.
Yeah, they play the same play style, and that's exactly what you said. They're just like LCK team.
Yes.
Yeah, they play same with all the team, and they can beat you. They can beat you in their own way.
And that's what surprised me the most is that they always slowed the game down.
Yep.
In fact, they were one of the slowest played team, and that's not a bad thing. Literally, you already mentioned, the control wards placed consistently from Meteor, Kuro. I felt like one of my biggest worries is the fact that they wouldn't have a carry player, right? An active player that would be getting Kuro ahead, ADD ahead, but it felt like they didn't necessarily need it. And then Jin Zhao and Meteor became that alongside, working alongside. Remember, the communication on that team once again. In an LPL that had multiple of these teams that moved towards Chinese spoken language lineups, they were a team that got against that, and they were actually still seemingly very successful and should have taken some of those wins, especially that 1 HP game. That was literally going to put them into the playoffs, and that's what hurt the most. That's why I still had Sim as my coach, or at least coach of the split there. I wanted to put in an honorable mention being Sino Dragons, because Sino Dragons coming out with a full rookie roster. I coached Bai on that one. I just thought that they had the same game plan. They were a type of team that didn't change on that. They still focused on team fighting. Chang Hong, even though he could play carries, you can have a debate on that.
I think SDG is the only team that still play jungle carrier.
Yeah.
They give Xiaopeng a lot of carrier jungler.
Italy,
yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So definitely I feel like Sino Dragons earns that kind of. So it's fun to see Sino Dragons Billy fighting towards that. But enough of that. Let's just get to the dang playoffs, all right? So first things first, I'm just going to talk about holistically the brackets, because we have this discussion every split coming into the playoff bracket. You have two sides. One side, and we don't have a map for you, so I'm going to tell you what it is, and you already have it in your mind. WEJDG, whoever wins that goes to RNG, and whoever beats them goes to FPX. And then the other side, you have Sino Dragons versus EDG. Whoever wins that goes up against TOP, and then Invictus Gaming. Feels like already an easiest question to ask, but what to you feels like the hardest bracket? I'm gonna ask you, Teddy, which one feels like the hardest side of the bracket?
The right side. The right side.
So you're saying
EDG side.
The EDG side. There we go.
Side.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the that side. Yeah. It's much. It looks like much easier at the left side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with that? Does everyone else agree with that?
I totally agree with that.
Yeah? So, like, to me, it's tough to say because people would ordinarily say, because you thought FPX was, I'll say both of you guys, thought that FPX was the strongest team coming into the playoffs, that is, but it always comes down to which team is making it the harder side of the bracket. Is it like RNG and TOP? Which team do you think is the weakest right now from each side? I'll ask you first.
All right, from each side, JD Gaming definitely on the left side. They were completely stomped by WE earlier on, and I have to say Sino Dragons on the right side, on the EDG side, because they also have a very bad matchup against EDG. Completely stomped when they faced them.
Fair enough. I'll talk about quarterfinals now.
Okay,
RNG and TOP. Those two teams, which team do you think is the stronger of the two?
Oh, this is a tough one because both of them actually have pretty unstable finishes of the split.
Yes.
And in my mind, I actually would give a little bit more leeway to TOP. I actually think TOP finished out they had a better overall split. But that's the problem about RNG because RNG play very differently when they do in playoffs than they do compared to their regular splits. Their regular splits are always a little bit shaky, but they always show up during playoffs. And that's a big question we have to ask. I felt like this was a pretty down season. Uzi was not as dominant. Their best player for me on RNG was actually Karsa this entire split. Xiaohu was on and off. He had good stretches, and then stretches where you didn't really know where he was. And then top lane was rotating between Zatai and Amazing J as well.
Yeah.
Recently is a pretty big word.
Yeah, very recently.
So I think RNG are still trying to figure out. I think RNG have more things to actually figure out than TOP. So that's why I'm saying I would put TOP just a little bit higher.
So you're saying TOP is the stronger of the two. Do you agree with that?
No, I have a different opinion. I think RNG is more stronger than TOP.
Okay.
At the semifinal, because they got a lot of best of 5 game played last year, and like Clement said, they are really struggled in this season. But there's still time for them to change up, and it's nice to watch Zitai back to the roster.
Yeah.
He is a really close friend to me. Yeah, we are both from the same city. Yeah, he is a really close friend to me, and I'm looking forward that they can change their shape at the playoff. And I think TOP is more struggle at the end of the season. Yeah, and they even need to change their roster. And I've been talking to BSYY at the end of the season, and he told me that his team can't play as well as the beginning of the season. He don't actually know why, and he's trying to figure it out. So I think RNG have more chance to play better than TOP.
So my thing on this one, just even like touching on this, was that for me, RNG having their late game band-aid, which is essentially a tie coming in, right? Because Amazing J really did feel like he was like flopping at the very middle portion of the split because he was either having good performances, but then it would be difficult for RNG to be able to find anything off of that, and then there were just outright like bad games coming in from Amazing J. And Zatai, even if like what essentially is that one first game coming into it when he went up against the Shy, like that was a great performance from him. That's why I have more faith coming in from RNG. TOP, my biggest fear is the fact that their bottom lane seems to be like, if you're in the LPL and if your bottom lane seems to be your weakness of the map, it usually means a bad sign. And a lot of times, that's why I have faith for RNG getting it back together. What do you think? Do you think that's a fair assessment, or do you think that TOP is trouble?
I have to agree with what Clement said just now.
Yeah.
Like RNG bot lane is not really in a good shape. I watch a lot of RNG bot lane gameplay, especially Uzi. He is like always exceptional in laning phase and team fight. But to be honest, in my opinion, he has poor performance in team fight now.
Okay.
And he is still good in laning phase. I saw the games when he played against like SDG.
Yeah.
And some couple games too. Like before, we can always say, oh, Uzi, Uzi. He's like tumbling 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, 4 time. But now, just
He's still alive!
Yeah, he's still alive. But now my heart is like, how to say, bumping?
Yeah.
Jumping all the time because I'm afraid of him dying. But before, I'm already to enjoy. My eyes are very comfortable.
Yeah.
But so I have to really say that I'm a little bit worried about RNG's bot lane now, and especially when Zitai come back.
Yep.
Sometimes we can see some of his Fiora, his Yorick. We don't see his Poppy again, right? Amazing just playing a lot of tanks.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit afraid of after picking some like counter picks by Zitai, and Karsa doesn't know where to go. right?
Yes.
And this is my most fear. And I know that top, like they always play like mid bot side, rarely play top side, and I think just maybe IG will play top side. But anyways, I really think that if top picks something really safe bot lane, so something like Braum Ashe, Comkench, Varus, they will not lose a lot in the laning phase, and they will like try to find a mistake of RNG bot lane and to punish them. Yeah, this is my concern, and that's why for me,
they won't face up though.
Yeah.
They won't face up?
They won't face up
Yeah,
though.
they won't.
But they will go up against EDG, and that's even harder. Because
Yeah.
EDG,
Yeah.
remember, EDG faced TOP and demolished them in the exact same way. So that one's going to be hard, but at least TOP have that footage to look back on. at least the most recent footage to look back on. So like, that's where I look at it. Man, I agree. I think that from my take on it is that the TOP side is definitely the harder side for me.
Yeah.
TOP, IG, when they're at their strongest, even with the concerns about the bottom lane, they just have stacked rosters. Like the rosters themselves are strong. And then Sino Dragons like EDG. I think EDG are just gonna make a run. That's my call. But there's been a change. All right, there's been a change ultimately with Sino Dragon. All these like teams that are 8th to 5th. The seeding has changed from like the weighted gauntlet that we had in the past. For people who don't know, in the past in the LPL splits, we've had it the team that has the higher seeding, 5th and 6th, just had a free point in the best of 5.
Yeah.
And then we've now seen teams that have now in this split. There's no more that extra point you're getting. All it is that you get side selection of your choice in games. 3 games, whenever you choose it. It could be 1 through 3 in the best of 5.
And you can make that decision every game.
After every game.
You can choose it every game before the game ends.
There we go. That's even that extra level. Like you can adapt on the fly when things are happening.
Yep.
So essentially, I'm going to ask. I'll start with Tabe because recent coach worked a lot in towards it. How would you best use this? Like especially in 8.6 coming up. I want to start off by a point, just as an example, with Team WE going up against JDG most recently. And they had their red side when they picked Caitlyn as last pick, right? Now they suddenly put in the minds of JDG that we're going to get red side, and we're going to try and go for the kind of composition. So what would you look out for the most with this new advantage that you would be getting?
You just now mentioned about last pick Caitlyn, right?
Yeah.
And I think that game is because of they changed the roster, like B-Voy and
Devoy and
I forgot the name. And it was
Demon.
really smart because it picked Morgana really early and banned like Soraka and Karma. So why I put this up is because red side is always about like the art of ban pick. If your team have really good potentials, good players that, for example, like if I were the Morgana, I just put up my hand and tell the coach, please ban Karma and Soraka, and I kill them all. This is like the spirit of red side. If the players don't have this ability, they are not capable of doing this, red side is really bad.
So that's why you wanted the Shy in your team.
Yeah, the side can always do this.
Give me last pick, I can kill you all the
yeah.
time.
I'll kill him every time.
And this is hard, right? Even sometimes we know that we can counter, but the games is different. So for my own opinion, I think the teams with like better top laner and also better like any lanes. But top lane is the most important. It's good to have red side. So for W and JDG, right?
Yeah.
I think both top lane are not that like 1v1 all the time. It's not that type like the Shy 369, I guess. So I think it's not really important, like blue side or red side. But I want to point out like 9.6, right? Like KO is a bit of I don't know how to say. It will be a really huge problem. So blue side is good because if I don't know how to play, I can just ban it. So maybe blue side have a little bit favor.
That's why I think 9.6 is really, for me, I don't fully understand which side's going to be the most important one because you have so many strong picks. Not only just the Kale, Morgana's fairly strong, but more like Silas is just
100% ban rate on red
like
side.
I literally just Silas not getting touched.
Jace, still strong. Because I've been cast LCK's last week's play, and they are already play patch 9.6. But there's one thing that shocked me is they don't pick the picks they make in 9.6 is not a big difference of 9.5, and I haven't seen a lot of champions that I think is really strong in 9.6. I think maybe they have something keep for the playoff, And and I was expect for like Talia pick or Urgot jungler.
Yeah, Urgot, Kalista still a strong side
Kalista
pick
still
too.
strong, yeah.
So like that's always been my fear is that like if there are just so many, I remember once upon a time there was just a meta where there were just so many OP picks that suddenly like red side would be able to find themselves in a position of having 2 picks that are just OP on that side of the bracket. So like that's always been my fear, but having that extra knowledge that literally like after a game you can just like, okay, this is not working out well. You can just use your side selection and change it up going into the second game. So that's fun. That's why I'm going to now move towards, like, we're having that discussion about side selection. Sino Dragons picking up that seed now, has that side selection. They're going to be going up against Edward Gaming. Now, I'm just going to fish it. I feel like I know what you're all going to say. But Sino Dragons versus EDG, who do you guys think ends up picking that one up?
Well, I think EDG for sure. I think Sino Dragons are.
I will vote for SDG.
Oh, let's go!
Hey, okay.
Let's go!
But I want to say something first. Is to be honest, I think my understanding of LPL now is of course far lower than the 3 of you. Why? Because I don't watch LPL all the time. I don't know the data. I just only watch the recent games.
Yes.
And the only thing I'm worried about EDG is the bot lane. And I really have to like emphasize a lot on bot lane because I think Dragon is very important.
Yes.
Like the games, if you have really good luck, 2 Mountain Dragon, you can drag the enemy can just get the Baron all the time, the tower they push all the time, and I'm really afraid of iBoy's performance now. Like I'm really shaky. I think my worry is like heavier than
every EDG fan will agree with you on that.
Yeah, but I'm really worried. I'm just really worried.
Yes.
And this is the first point. And the second point is I think Gala is doing really good now.
Yeah.
You still got hope. It's okay.
You still got hope.
But I agree. Agree that other points may be not as good as EDG. And like before I came here, I have some I did some research on SDG.
Yeah.
They are winning with they are winning in blue side with Sion blind pick in 9 games.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have 9 games winning streak on Sion.
Yep.
So it is like, if they have blue side, it's a trouble. So because when you're a red side, if you are a coach, you don't want to ban Sion in red side.
Yeah,
it's don't. Like humiliating the team. So really. Yeah. You know why? Because when I was coaching, I will always ask my top laner, hey, what's your counter Sion? And he said, Yorick, Fiora, Ilaoi, like everything. It's like everything can counter Sion, but I don't know why every time lose. Yeah, that's like. But this just joke. But for me, just worry about the bot lane. But if iBoy back to like before, he was like so good, then EDG is like 100% win.
That's my thing about the whole series, that it feels like it is going to be a series about discipline. Because remember, EDG at the beginning of the split, midway through the split, and then sometimes I've been bleeding out at the end of the split, but like discipline had always been that question, where they like even before Clear Love coming in, they would have some weird games, right? There would people be dying, like specifically iBoy. That's a good point that you mentioned. If Mako leaves, like just 30 seconds to go out ward, suddenly iBoy is dead. And those are the concerns that you would have for EDG. But I've never had those concerns with Sino Dragons. They are always like, it feels like the most consistent team, and that's why I had them as an honorable mention of like well coached for Sino Dragons. That like they would come out consistently. Chang Hong, Sion connoisseur, like legitimately would always look to tank and look for team fights. Twyla, Gala, and even Mark. People like Mark seems to be the least talked about support when we're talking about like all teams and stuff.
There's one thing more is Mark is a really good Raccoon player, and just like what Tabe said, if you are in the red side, you still don't want to ban Raccoon at 9.6.
Yeah.
But Raccoon and Saya are really good at 9.6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their ban pick could be Sion, Xayah Rakan.
Yep.
And you're like, we didn't think about that.
That's for me the most important part of the series. If EDG is coming in hot, you never know if they're going to be coming in until you get into the day and you're like, is EDG playing super conservatively? Like, are they playing towards their bottom lane? Because it almost feels like they have to. But Ray has been insane. So we're just talking about like top laners that can play towards and should be able to beat the Sion. You'd expect that, like, for me, in terms of honorable mentions of MVP, Ray has been insane. So Ray versus Chang Hong to me seems like the most incredible pick. Like, Who do you have as a matchup for that series that you think should carry it if like one side ends up taking it?
Yeah, I think the most important thing for me in this series is if Sino Dragons can actually get a good front line. I think that's the biggest question, because if you think about they play a sword and shield style, which is they have a big hyper carry in the back in Gala, and they have a good front line in the front. But the number of frontline champions that are actually viable are very limited in patch 9.6. You pretty have Scion, and then who else? I still think that EDG, if they're smart, if they're not afraid of
they will ban it.
Oh, but
I agree.
But Ornn is really good at 9.6.
Yeah, Ornn is another one.
Yeah, Ornn is another really good tank champion at 9.6.
Yeah.
I think the main key is, can they actually punish a tank pick enough if it comes down to Ornn or Scion can't rate too much?
You know what? I've been talking to a ex-pro player of Korea, and he's he played a lot of Jace. He played like 2000 Jace, and he was like 900 point at Challenger.
Yeah.
And I was asking him, I was telling him that every team in the LPL at right side, they always ban Jace. And who is the counter pick for Jace? Who is the counter pick for Jace?
No, I think no.
He told me it's Ornn.
Yeah, because you can bring the spell book.
He told me it's Ornn because Jace can't even trade house with Ornn, because you will always get solo killed by Ornn.
Wait a minute.
No, I don't agree.
This guy's a problem.
That's what that guy told me. This guy played like 2000 Jace every game, but he told me he can't beat up Ornn all the time.
Was this recently? Like recently or like old Ornn that just had
recently.
like nonsense? Okay.
Recently. Because you know the change at 9.6, Ornn can always smash his E.
Yeah.
He must smash his Q.
Yeah.
His Q won't disappear when he casts E. And if you got catched by his E, and you can beat him at the lane, that's what he told me. 1E will give a lot of house in front, and you can't fight with on the lane anymore. Yeah, that's what he told me. Only takes 1E to
Oh my goodness. Well, I feel like regardless, Chang Hung is going to play a tank.
Yes, he's going to play a tank.
And for me, like the one thing that I cannot predict when it comes to Sino Dragons has actually just been the mid lane, right? The mid lane, I don't know what Twilight is going to pick on the day. Is he going to pick the Jace to have pressure within the lane? Is he going to pick the Zillion? Like, is he going to go to Aurelion Soul? Like, there's a lot of utility that...
But does it matter? He typically doesn't win the lane anyway. And they still win, so does it actually matter?
I'm concerned because I see globally, like, the Zillions coming out pretty consistently. Just like, you know, Bjergsen picking up. I'm just specifically talking about North America, I guess. But, like, that really can confuse just how team fights end up going for, like, a typical front-to-back team. But at the end of the day, it feels like across the board, we feel like EDG is going to pick it up. There is that surprise factor of Sino Dragons could come in there in a best-of-5. But I'm gonna sip my tea and see what happens, right? Let's go to the one that everyone likely has a deep opinion on, which is Team WE and JDG. So, like, for me, the biggest surprise of the split has not just been Suning's failures or, like, I mean, there's just been a lot there, or BLG not making it to the playoffs, but Team WE being, like, that masterful, getting into the playoffs at that, like, 5th seed is insane. And then JDG, like, losing so much. I didn't think that losing Clid and Loken will do that much, because I think, like, the patchworks of having, like, you know, Levi and Flawless, and then maybe Imp coming back, maybe you'll have like that comeback split, but it hasn't happened there. So, like, who do you guys immediately, I'll start with Clement, because he's giving me the grins right there. Yeah. Who do you think comes out of the victory, like Team W versus JDG? Do you think that it's a close series, or do you think it's a blowout like the last time they played?
I honestly think it's going to be closer than the last one, because the last one was, it kind of felt like JD Gaming was holding on to their cards. Or they were giving W a lot of leeway in terms of ban picks just to run away and run wild with what they had. But I think it'll be closer, but I still favor W very heavily. It's going to be bot versus top side of a matchup.
Yeah.
I think there's no way that Mystic loses that lane. I think Mystic is totally going to crash that lane.
Yeah.
They're going to get to the late game very well. And it really is a question of, for me, how much can Zoom win the matchup against Pose? That's the biggest question right there. And I think if you look at the 9.6 patch, there's a lot of safe champions that Pose can go on to. He can go on the Gangplank. He's actually proven a very proficient Gangplank. Ornn, like you're talking about, is there. There's a lot of champions you can't just straight out beat in lane. And I feel like if they just have something that's safer on the blue side and just play a super strong hyper carry in the bot lane and win that lane,
they're set to go. Like I think their fundamentals are much better structured, and they have a great matchup against JD Gaming.
Does anyone else think that JDG will have a chance in this series? Like, do they win a game in this?
I think if JDG win the whole series, and one thing that you need to know, Homie is a really good coach, and he is as known as his micro game. And just like what Clement said, I think the only reason or the only chance that JDG can get a win or get to win the whole series is they need to play around Zoom. They need to go for the 4-1 split push, and they need Zoom to pick up some champion that can push the lane and can do split push all the time. They won't win team fight with WE. They can't win team fight with WE.
Isn't that the concern though, Tabe? Like you already even said, like we're just talking about the top laners there. Zoom is not the type of person that will pick up that champion solo carry and look to just fight in the lane. Like how does this team play out this series?
I want to point out something is like we're talking about top lane to win, who is win, but I want to say like I always see that the games that which team have a better mid lane, the top will win. Why? Because for example, if my mid can always push, even I can punish enemy top lane, I can't because enemy miss, right? Enemy mid to miss, then I'm afraid. So I think I will vote for WE too because simply I don't think JDG can win any lane, really, because if like Homie is really great coach. So I think Levi will not be playing because so many.
That's sad, man.
Let him explain himself, man. We don't have that clip right there.
That's pretty sad. It's not about of the understanding of the game. It's just because Levi just learned English and suddenly he have to learn Chinese again. So he has a little.
That's rough.
That's sad.
Major problem is his communication, and I don't think B-Void is better. I think Imp is good, but Imp is like far not as good as Mystic too. I agree. Like what Teddy said about Mystic, he's so good now after being a dad.
Responsibility and discipline is what you teach your kids, everyone.
It's just joke. But I really have to mention why I think JDG has no chance to win, because Xie and Mystic is like the two rising star of the whole universe. It's like they're doing really good, and I can't see like how Imp can win Mystic in the lane, and I can't see how Yagao can push Xie lane.
Come on, give Yagao some chance.
You think Yagao is going to get it?
Not in a big chance, but Yagao is a good player too. Especially if he can pick his Zoe or LeBlanc, he got some chance.
What's hard for Yagao though? Remember the last series? It felt like he was just chasing around disaster because on the Jace in particular, because like he was having a good game. But like the one scary thing about Team WE is how aggressive they are, and they do not like they do not stop. Like they're pushing top lane, they're pushing mid lane, they continue to go at you.
And they are really good at early game.
Yes.
They are really good at moving to their own teammates and helping their teammates.
And it's like drastic change from what Team W was in the past. Like they were a team that went for the late game.
They have really good early game. That I watched JDG vs W, the last best of 3 of the season. And one thing that shocked me is when I saw the two mid laners are fight and Post are just trying to move to mid lane at the first time, and you look to bottom lane and Mystic are telling his support like just go to hop my mid, hop over mid. So it's really good early game, and they communicate. The communicator of Team W is really good right now. I think one thing about Team WE, we'll talk about them a little bit more because we seem to be really high on Team WE, is missing. Like, even in the name, like that's the worst joke you can ever make is the fact that he goes missing. But like literally, like whenever there's a team fight on the top side of the map, he leaves that lane so frequently, and that he's always there before Lumao. And with how strong Lumao is playing, he's always trying to catch up for like Team WE, always looking for the fight. And a lot of times, Beishan has that aggression. So I'm gonna pose it to you guys. We said that this side of the bracket was like most of us said that this was the weaker side of the bracket. Do we think Team WE can make the run? And just reminding you guys, this is like if they get past JDG, they go up against RNG, they go up against FPX, and we're just talking about can they make that run to the finals? So I'll ask Tabe first. Just let's see if you think do you think that's
possible. Everyone says it's possible. Do you think it's likely?
I think it's a hard question. I think this is really hard to answer because I think for WE this split is like a miracle.
Yeah.
They are doing miracle all the time. That's why I guess they can maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you want me to like give me a concrete answer.
Concrete answer just based off like current skill. It doesn't matter if they make a miracle. You can say it's a miracle afterwards, but like just pound for pound when they go up against RNG, do you think RNG should just beat them?
I guess maybe they can win RNG.
Yeah.
But I guess they can't win FPX.
Okay. Where do you think they go farthest?
Final.
Woo! Okay.
But there's one thing that I don't know if I can say it in the show because I'm under.
We can edit it out.
Just say it. I'm under super pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing that we've been watching DoingB play the whole time.
Yeah.
But there's one thing about DoingB is this guy sometimes goes invisible in best of 5.
That's true.
Yeah, sometimes he goes invisible in best of 5. And you can imagine if they lost DoingB in best of 5, FunPlus can't beat WE. That's a really simple reason why I think WE will make to the final.
Yeah.
And it's a test to DoingB too. Can he perform really good at the best of 5?
That's what my question is, because first I'll ask you, because you're the one who's trying to escape not answering. you gotta ask the question.
Okay. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. Look, I think W can beat RNG. I think it's maybe even highly likely to happen.
Yes.
I actually have I personally said that I thought the semifinals would be W versus FPX.
Okay.
I think with the current state of how W is doing, 6 straight game wins, match wins, and just the level of performance, the synergy, like Teddy was talking about, it is a better showing than what RNG is currently showing us. So I do think W can make it past RNG. RNG isn't even the question for me.
Yeah, do you think they make it past FPX?
Yes, that's the big one where I'm really hesitant to say that it's going to go either way, because I feel like if you look at the body of work, the regular split in its entirety, I feel like FPX still have a lot of things going for them. Just their ability to move. I feel like that jungle mid is more influential.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just as Teddy's been saying, DoingB, if you think about his JD Gaming in 2018, neither split, neither finals was BO5 was particularly good. He's super carry in the regular split, but he hasn't really been super carry in the playoffs. So that one's the big question for me.
Just so people remember, when it was like the ticket to Worlds was the big question, and it was Rogue Warriors just they were the last boss, but it didn't feel like it. JDG were having that insane run, and EDG were also being there as well.
Especially Haru.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people actually, even though Rogue Warriors had the most points and were at the end, everyone didn't really look towards Rogue Warriors and giving them a good shot. And it seems like for me, the big question towards FPX is really just like, it feels like they're too linear. And I don't want to bring in like traditional sports into it, but whenever there are those teams that come in with that one major strength, like, you know, Houston Rockets, like, and James Harden and that, like, there's that question is like, well, teams, there's that one counter strategy, play towards mid lane, try and shut him down, and you have to like ask the question is like, can Gimgoon come out strong when he doesn't have the pressure from mid? Does the same question happen towards bottom lane? And it seems like Tien is that factor. Do you think Tien is strong enough? Because you said the buck stops with FPX. Who do you think is the next member that can come in through, and how strong is Tien in particular if you think it's him?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, I'm just gonna say, like, without DoingB, if DoingB is out, do you think FPX can still be able to take the series if he's heavily pressured in the mid lane?
If DoingB is out, like FPX will lose 50 minutes.
Okay.
Why? Because FPX no mid sub laner.
Yeah. No, I'm just talking about like if he let's say like the strategy is to gank him a lot, like just consistently gank him. Like when Invictus Gaming went up against him, it felt like in Rogue RNG
strategy.
did it a lot. They dove him under tower and made it hard for DoingB even to get into lane. Let alone
LGD
roam.
strategy.
I remember that game when he was playing Rise, right?
Yeah, he was playing Rise.
They would go like, we will lose turret plating. It is okay, but our support is going to be behind your tower.
Yeah.
That's the way we're going
If they just pressure mid.
We can lose team fight, but DoingB must die.
Yeah. Do you think if they just pressure mid, that's good enough to take down FPX?
Yeah, I think this is like the best option. Like everyone knows, you have to punish mid. But I have to say, like, you know, DoingB should not have ran to tower 2.
Yeah.
He should just stay in tower 1 and at least trade Karsa's life. I think it's like a minor bad play by him. But I agree that is a really important factor to shut down FPX. It's like to kill Tien or kill Doinb. But I think this is also matters about with draft. Like for example, if FPX gets something like Rek'Sai or and especially I always afraid of Doinb losing his mid lane after enemy bans his Lissandra and Ryze. But now he can play something like Corki, Kassadin, and also Yasuo. So maybe he fixed his champion pool already. But I also agree that if any team can win their mid and jungle, they can win. But also they have to consider about Crisp? Yeah, because Crisp, I always see, I don't know why he's suddenly on mid. Like TFR all the time.
Yeah, like LWX too. There was like the last game that they had, suddenly Kog'Maw, like I think it was Alistar. Literally Crisp and LWX rotated to the fight.
So they're playing like really like a team. And also, I like what you said, like can Jimgun play more carrier because his Akali was a bit funny that day. So yeah.
There's always that question. So all right, okay. It seems like we're a bit split when it comes to FPX. It's tough for me. I legitimately, it was tough for everybody else. I'm just gonna say that I think that FPX should take it because I've always been the naysayer for FPX. I've always been the person to say FPX should win the series, like going up against IG, RNG, but they've always either won the series or put them to a game 3.
I want to say something. Sorry to interrupt because Mystic was doing really good after he has a child, right? And Doinb is married now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you know,
it's the next level.
Really
cut. It's the strategy. You cannot cut the secret strategy, all right? All right. And this is going to be the last question for all of you guys. It's been a good night. Everything is going down to it. It comes down to the finals. And I'm not going to ask you who gets to the finals because that's already under contention. But who's going to be, like, in your eyes, the strongest team that gets there? Who's going to be our MSI representative? So we've talked about Invictus Gaming coming in strong. We haven't even touched on that side of the bracket because we've already went too deep into it. But like, to you, Teddy,
still IG.
Still IG?
Yeah, still IG.
All right,
That's my answer.
I'm gonna go with the flow. It's Invictus Gaming for me as well. World champions, baby. You can't doubt that. If the Shy wins this lane, like we've seen so many games this split of IG just winning one lane during the first 15 minutes and still winning the game. So I just feel like when they go to playoffs, I think their bot lane is going to play much better. We saw a bit of that when they went up against RNG. They're slowly heating up, and the Shy doesn't have to do it alone. I do expect them to be on an upward trajectory, and I think those lanes are going to be a little bit too much to handle for be it FPX or be it WE. I think their solo lanes are not necessarily like on par with what you get from Rookie and the Shy. So I'm still going to give it to IG.
All right, everyone says Invictus Gaming. Like it's just like. Unsurprised. Okay, IG. Like that's literally what it is. I mean, I can't even. I'm not even gonna spice it up because that would just be disingenuous. Like it feels like Invictus Gaming have been the strongest team, and they've even come throughout the split, still flexing a lot of like options there too for like Ning, Rookie. Of course, they've given the Shy and Duke some chances, so there's a time where you can bring in Duke. But it's not. It's gonna be the Shy. It's gonna be the Shy. But yeah, I mean like. Any last thoughts? Any last thoughts coming into it? Because that's going to be the end of the show. So I'm going to go to Tabe. You have anything else to say about the finals as a whole? Any hopes?
Just now, I've mentioned like among the whole program today, I was mentioning about the importance of bot lane, right?
Yeah.
And why I vote for IG is we know that the Shy is really good, right? He's like the superstar of the team. But the performance of Jackalov and Baolan is like so strong, so stunning in the last best of 3. Best of what? Best of 3?
It was a best of 3.
Best of 3 against EDG. So it proves to me that their bot lane is really good too. Maybe in this split, IG's Rookie is not playing as good as before, but he's climbing. Yes. He's becoming good again. And this is the only team I can see. Oh, why? Top is good, mid good, bot good, jungle, of course, good. So, yeah, that's why I vote for IG. It's like so all-rounded, and every lane has superior laning phase. Coordination is really good too.
Final say, Steady? Sometimes it's just as easy as you have. You just have stunning players in every lane.
Yeah.
What's going to be your best series? What do you think is going to be the best series to watch?
The best series, except the final.
Except the final
will be whoever versus FunPlus.
Yeah, there you go.
Will be whoever versus FunPlus, because I really want to looking forward what will FunPlus play during the playoff or during the best of 5. And same as Tabe, IG is still have the best player in the world, and I think they have the better chance to win the whole playoff. And it'll be really fun to watching LPL's playoff.
Yeah, seems like we've got it. I remember last playoffs, last finals, we found ourselves going to the full best of 5 in the finals, so I hope that's going to be the same case because we have, like, everyone has faith that Invictus Gaming are going to do it. This is the first time we're coming into it where Invictus Gaming, yeah, they have the best players across the board, but also, like, Jackie Love doesn't have that, like, that feeling that he's a rookie anymore. The pressure isn't necessarily there, so he's going to be coming out stronger. So you've heard it from us. All of us agree holistically that Invictus Gaming are going to take it to World Champions. That shouldn't be a surprise whatsoever. That's going to be doing it for us for the LPL Spring Playoff Preview Show. And enjoy the rest of the games coming up forward.
Yeah. Catch us on April 4th.